Welcome to our channel DNA. Today I'm going to brief you on a very important chapter which would help you to score more marks at your GCE O-level science examination paper. And that topic is the grade 10 chapter number 1, which is chemical basis of life. Let me brief you on the topic chemical basis of life. So this chapter includes or explains to us about the chemicals that are present in living organisms, and it starts up with an important term known as elements. So this word, all of you should know the meaning of this word element. Alright, so now here element is a particular substance that are made up of atoms. Right, now here we are going to discuss about how elements transform into, how elements combine to form compounds, and what are the compounds that are present within living organisms. So among the 90 plus elements that are present on Earth, there are 25 elements present in our human body. Among those 25 elements, the 4 main elements are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. And apart from that, you get sulfur, phosphorus, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, iron and chlorine, etc. So now let's move on to the next part of this chapter. That is, now here we are going to talk about the next chapter. We are going to talk about biological molecules. So as I told you, biological molecules are molecules that makes up a living organism. So now I told you all earlier that elements combine to form compounds, and the compounds present in living organisms are known as biological molecules. There are 4 different types of biological molecules present in living organisms. They are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids and nucleic acids. So these 4 major biological molecules are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. So now what we are going to do is we are going to discuss each and every biological molecule in detail. And I would like, if you can, I would request you all to have a notebook and just jot down some short notes while I am explaining you this particular chapter. Okay, let's go to this carbohydrate. So as you all know, you all would have learned this particular information that carbohydrates are the most abundant organic compound on Earth. Okay, now when it comes to this organic, let's see what do you mean by organic? Organic compound means the compounds that comprises carbon. The compounds that comprises carbon. So now compounds can be divided into 2, one as organic, one as inorganic. So organic compounds are the compounds that have carbon, and the inorganic compounds means the compounds which do not have carbon. But there are some exemptions. Let me take an example. Carbon dioxide, that is CO2. CO2, though it has carbon, it is not an organic compound. CO2, though it has carbon as a constituent, it is not coming under the category of organic compounds. So meanwhile, there are some exemptions in organic and inorganic, but briefly the description, we can define organic compounds as the compounds that have carbon as a constituent is known as organic compounds, and the compounds that do not have carbon are known as inorganic compounds. The carbohydrates are made up of 3 elements, that is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and it has a special molecular formula which is known as CxH2OY. HCxH2OY, and with a ratio of hydrogen to oxygen 2:1. So now what do you mean by carbohydrates are the abundant organic compounds on earth? Abundant means it is available almost everywhere on earth. So and it's mentioned as they are produced during photosynthesis. All of you all know that green plants, they produce their own food, and that is one of the unique properties that plants have, producing their own food by using sunlight and carbon dioxide. So and that process is known as photosynthesis, which will be discussed later in the upcoming videos. So carbohydrates are produced during photosynthesis. That is number one, and it is available in potato, sweet potato, grains, sugar, flour, etc. So that is why, because it is present in a large scale on the earth, that is why it is called as the abundant product on the earth. And next, when we move on to the next page, it is about categorizing or grouping of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are categorized into, mainly we can divide carbohydrates into three categories, which are known as monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. So mono, di, and poly. So let's look at these words: monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Mono means one. So di means two, poly means many. So monosaccharides, saccharides defines as sugar. So mono, sugar, one sugar, monosaccharides. Disaccharides, two sugars. Polysaccharides, three or more sugars. So here carbohydrates are categorized into these three groups depending on the amount of sugar that they contain. So let's see about monosaccharides. So monosaccharides means the carbohydrates that consist of only one sugar. Disaccharides means the carbohydrates that consist of two sugars. Polysaccharide means the carbohydrates that consist of three sugars. And the examples given here: monosaccharides, you have glucose, fructose, galactose, and disaccharides you have maltose, sucrose, lactose. Polysaccharides you have starch, cellulose, and glycogen. Right? So here they have given you a small description on monosaccharides. Monosaccharide is the structural unit of carbohydrates. So what do you mean by structural unit? A structural unit means it is the backbone of a particular substance. So for example, now they have given you as monosaccharide is a structural unit of carbohydrates. So what does that mean? That means monosaccharides are the backbone of carbohydrates. So monosaccharides are the main constituent that makes up the carbohydrate. They are commonly known as simple sugars. Why are they called as simple sugars? Because they consist of only one sugar. That is mono. Mono means one. They are crystal shaped, sweet and water soluble molecules. Okay, so these are the properties of it. So they are crystal in shape, they are sweet in taste, and they are water soluble molecules. That means when you add it into water and you can dissolve, you have the ability of dissolving monosaccharides in water. So at your examination, they can ask what are the properties of monosaccharides, what are the features of monosaccharides. So these are the things that you have to explain. That is, you have to explain that they are crystal in shape, they are sweet in taste, and they are water soluble. And here we go with some examples of monosaccharides, which are glucose, fructose, and galactose. Right? And here they have given you the location and the type of monosaccharide, the location, and some other general facts. Let's go through the type of monosaccharide. Glucose are produced in they are located in ripe fruits and in bee honey. Fructose is present in ripened fruits, bee honey, pumpkin, carrots. Galactose are present in dairy products. And in the next column you have the other facts. That means the glucose, they say that the end product during hydrolysis of all starchy food is glucose. This glucose is absorbed into the blood. So what do you mean by the word hydrolysis? Hydrolysis is the process by which a chemical compound is broken with the help of water. Hydro means water, lysis means breaking. Breaking with the help of water is known as hydrolysis. So the end product during hydrolysis of starchy food is glucose. That means the final product that you get of all hydrolysis of starchy food is glucose. The glucose is absorbed into the blood. Next one, plants produce glucose during photosynthesis. As I told you, photosynthesis is the process by which green plants produce their own food. Next we move on to energy is released during breaking down of glucose in cellular respiration. So during cellular respiration, energy is produced due to the breaking of this particular glucose. So you have to understand that glucose plays an important role during cellular respiration. So when glucose is broken up, it gives out energy. So energy is required for our day-to-day activities. Let's go on to the next example, that is fructose, and it's present in ripened fruits, be honey, pumpkin and carrots, and it is also known as the fruit sugar. Why is it known as the fruit sugar? Because it is present in fruits. And fructose is formed during ripening of fruits. This is the sweetest sugar. So among all this sugar, I mean glucose, fructose and galactose, the sweetest sugar is fructose. So this also can come in one of the questions as what is the sweetest carbohydrate? I mean, like, what is the sweetest monosaccharide? So the answer will be fructose. And next we'll move on to the third example, which is galactose. And galactose is produced in dairy products. So dairy products, what are the examples? You can say like yogurt production, curd production, etc. You have studied this in grade 9, chapter number 1. So let's see about galactose, the end product during hydrolysis of lactose. So again, the word hydrolysis, that is where lactose is broken down with the help of water. And the main thing is galactose has no sweet taste. So this also came as a past question. What is the you have to select in a multiple choice question, that among the given answers, which sugar is not sweet in taste? So the answer will be galactose. So these are the main things that you have to consider while studying this particular chapter. So we discussed about monosaccharides, their examples and where it can be found, and some other features about it. Next we are moving on to the disaccharides. So what do you mean by disaccharides? So disaccharides, as I explained you earlier, combination of two monosaccharides. So two monosaccharides will combine to form a disaccharide. Okay, and during this process a water molecule is released. So what do you mean by this? So as a byproduct, now as you know, when you look at a reaction, particular reaction, on the right hand side of the arrow you get the products, and on the left hand side of the arrow you get the reactants. So here in this you can see a C6H12O6 is converted into a disaccharide. That means two molecules of monosaccharides are combined to form a disaccharide, which is C12H22 and O11, and it gives out a water molecule. So here they have given you three examples for disaccharide, which is maltose, sucrose and lactose. Maltose, sucrose and lactose. Right, let's go on to these examples. The characters of disaccharides are discussed below. Maltose, where is it? Where could you find maltose? It is present in germinating seeds. So in the later videos we will show you how we are going to obtain maltose, and I'll be explaining you about some experiments related to this particular chapter in my future videos. So let's go on to this maltose, and it is present in germinating seeds. So let's see how this particular maltose is been formed. Now, as I told you, maltose is a disaccharide. So a disaccharide means combination of two monosaccharides. So here let's see what are the monosaccharides that combine to form maltose. So glucose is the main monosaccharide here, which combines to form maltose. So two glucose molecules will combine to form maltose, which gives water as a byproduct. And next one, let's move on to sucrose. Sucrose is the second example of disaccharide, and it is present in white and brown sugar, sugar cane and beet, some fruits and phloem sap. So let's see what makes up this particular sucrose, and you can see that glucose and fructose. So glucose, the earlier maltose was made up of combination of two glucose molecules, but now sucrose is made up of combination of one glucose molecule with a fructose molecule, and that will result in sucrose as the main product and water as the byproduct. Let's move on to the third example, that is lactose. Lactose is a disaccharide that is present in dairy products, as I explained you earlier. So let's say union of glucose molecule with a galactose molecule. So galactose is also a monosaccharide, and lactose is formed by the combination of one glucose molecule with one galactose molecule, which gives a main product known as lactose and a byproduct as water. And among these three examples, lactose plays an important role, and because it has a lot of details for you all to remember. The only sugar that is absent in plants. So this is the only sugar that is absent in plants. You won't get lactose in plants because it is only present in animal body. And not sweet as sucrose. Lactose is not sweet as sucrose because it is sweet. For example, in monosaccharides you all saw that galactose is not sweet. Galactose is not sweet, but in lactose, lactose is a combination of galactose with glucose. So galactose is not sweet, glucose is sweet. So the end product, which is lactose, will give you some sort of a sweet taste. So it is not sweeter than sucrose. The percentage of lactose in cow's milk according to the composition is 4% to 6%. The percentage of lactose in human milk according to the composition is 6% to 7%. This is just for your reference about lactose. So today, now we discussed about monosaccharides, disaccharides, and next we are going to move on to polysaccharides, which is a bit complex than the previous two that we discussed. So now here it says that polymerization of large number of monosaccharides from a polysaccharide molecule. Polymerization means combination of large number of chemically combination of large number of monosaccharides will result in a polysaccharides. So hydrolysis of polysaccharide results relevant monosaccharide. So what do you mean by hydrolysis? As I explained you earlier, breaking down of a particular compound using water. So what they say is very simple. Many monosaccharides chemically combine to form a polysaccharide, which is a large chain, and same way we can hydrolyze that polysaccharide and break down that polysaccharide into monosaccharide units. So it's a reversible reaction. That means monosaccharides can combine to form a polysaccharide. Meanwhile, polysaccharide can hydrolyze and form monosaccharides as well. So the main thing here is they are insoluble in normal water. They are not crystals. These are the features. I am explaining you the features. So they are insoluble in normal water and they are not crystal in shape. And examples given here in your book is cellulose, starch and glycogen. So cellulose, starch and glycogen we will be discussing in detail. And the structural unit of cellulose, starch and glycogen is glucose. Now here you can see the structural unit of cellulose, starch and glycogen is glucose. So as I told you, the backbone, that means the main substance that form cellulose, starch and glycogen is glucose. But their properties are different according to the number of glucose molecules and how they are bound with each other. So now you can see, though the structural unit of cellulose, starch and glycogen is common, that means the structural unit of all those three is glucose. Their properties are different. Now if you take the property of cellulose, that is different from the properties of starch, and starch is different from glycogen. What is the reason for this? The reason is the combination of the number of glucose molecules. So since the number of glucose molecules of each of these three polysaccharides are different, these three will produce different characteristics or different features. So it's simple. So cellulose, starch, glycogen are made up of glucose, combination of many molecules of glucose, but their features are different. Because why? The number of glucose present and the way they are combined is different from each other. Let's go through the characteristics of polysaccharides. And the first characteristic is cellulose. The first polysaccharide is cellulose, and the location present, say it's present in the plant's cell wall and in fibers. And the next one, you get starch, which is present in grains, yams, jack, breadfruit. Number 3, you get glycogen, which is present in animal liver and muscles. Let's go on to some deep features of cellulose. Cellulose has no nutritional value as it is not digested in the human digestive system. Therefore, it helps to avoid constipation. So cellulose is, as you know, that when you are suffering from constipation, many people, they advise you all to have fiber-rich food. So the reason for this is fiber. Like cellulose is not digested by human body, so it can help you all to avoid constipation because it's not digested by the human digestive system. And next is starch, and this is known as the storage product in plants, because as I told you previously that plants produce their own food in the form of photosynthesis, and this food should be stored within the plant. So this food which is produced by the plant is stored in the form of starch within the plant. Okay, so the produced food stores within the plant in the form of starch. So that is known as the storage product of plants. So starch is also a very, very important polysaccharide. Next, let's move on to glycogen. So glycogen is the carbohydrates that is stored within animal body. So starch is the storage product of plant body, and glycogen is the storage product of animal body. So here what you have to understand is, you have to understand the examples of polysaccharides and where they are present and the features of them. So that is what is explained in this particular chapter. Let's move on to the significance of carbohydrate. What do you mean by significance? So the word significance, it can be like importance, right? Significance, importance, both are same. So sometimes they can ask in your paper, what are the importance of carbohydrates? So you should not mess up with the word. Significance and importance, both are same. So significance of carbohydrate. Today we are going to discuss about the importance of carbohydrates as well. So carbohydrates acts as an energy source. Yes, it is the main energy source of living organisms. So it can hydrolysis of carbohydrates can produce you energy. Energy is required for all your day-to-day activities. Even for me to move this finger up and down, we need energy. That energy, the main energy source is carbohydrates. And number 2, as a storage compound. So it can store food. It can convert into a form that can store food. For example, the storage food of plants, the storage product of plant is starch. The storage product of animals is glycogen. As a structural component in organism, for example, cellulose, which is one of the most important polysaccharides, makes up the plant's cell wall. So what do you mean by a cell wall? It is the outermost layer of a plant which gives the plant a proper shape. So it is a structural component as well. As a constituent in nucleic acid. Nucleic acid is another biological molecule which will be discussed later. So there comes the experiments of carbohydrates, and I'll be discussing all the experiments. For example, as I told you all earlier, that there are 4 different types of biological molecules that we are going to discuss in this chapter. That is, number 1, you get carbohydrates. Number 2, you get proteins. third lipid, and fourth is nucleic acid. Once we discuss these 4 chapters, we will be uploading you a video related to all the experiments. So we are going to show you all the experiments, explain you all the experiments related to this particular chapter. That will help you more to understand more and more about this particular topic. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any question related to today's lecture, please feel free to comment below, and I will try my best to help you all out. And if you feel that this lecture was helpful to you, please do like it and share it among your friends so that they too could get benefited. If you all are interested in watching more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon below so that you will be notified as soon as we upload a video. See you guys. Thank you once again. Have a great day.